So and this is the case for the dietary recommendations in general, we really should be focusing on foods rather than trying to dissect out individual components.
Dr. Ronald Krauss isn't just a leading figure in nutritional science. He's an adjunct professor at UC Berkeley and one of the foremost experts in lipid metabolism and heart health. His decades of peer-reviewed research have shaped how we understand the connection between food and cardiovascular wellness. If he talks about diet and heart disease, we listen.
I inherited this mantra. The mantra was low fat, and the food industry was very cooperative by providing, and they still do, products that they advertise as being low in fat, but don't necessarily mention the fact that they are higher in carbohydrates and sugars. And that was a big mistake, as you say. That trend, fortunately, now has been reversed. I think there's much more attention being paid to a more balanced approach.
One day, butter is bad. The next, it's a superfood. Whole grains are healthy, until someone tells you they're too processed. So, what should you really eat to protect your heart? In this video, we'll unpack what Dr. Ronald Krauss had to say about heart-healthy nutrients. You'll walk away knowing which foods to prioritize, which ones to reduce, and how to make smart choices with confidence. We've all been there, standing in the grocery aisle, reading labels, trying to decide between whole wheat, low-fat, or plant-based foods, all while wondering, is this really good for my heart? The truth is, most of us aren't eating enough of the right kinds of plant-based foods, and we often fall into the trap of obsessing over specific nutrients instead of looking at our diet as a whole. So how do we stop the confusion and make better choices? Let's get into it. According to Dr. Krauss, the smartest move for heart health is to stop zeroing in on individual nutrients and instead focus on whole foods and dietary patterns. This shift simplifies your decisions and naturally aligns your nutrient intake. Research tells us that plant-based foods are overwhelmingly beneficial. Not all carbs or fats are created equal. Processing level matters. And you don't need to obsess over avoiding all fats or all carbs, just the overly processed forms. As the famous acronym goes, keep it simple, stupid. Let's break this down into real-life, practical advice that you can actually use, not just hear and forget. If it comes from a plant, and it's close to how nature made it, chances are it's good for your heart. If it's been broken down, refined, or stuffed with added sugars and fats, it's probably doing more harm than good. Now, let's explore the heroes and the villains in your diet. Nuts might be small, but they're mighty. They're like tiny nutritional vaults loaded with the good stuff your body thrives on. Walnuts are rich in polyphenols, natural plant compounds that fight oxidative stress and inflammation, two key drivers of heart disease. Think of them as natural armor for your blood vessels. Almonds come packed with fiber, which helps sweep cholesterol out of your system. They may also help lower LDL cholesterol, often called the bad cholesterol that contributes to plaque buildup in your arteries. Other nuts, cashews, pistachios, hazelnuts, haven't been studied as extensively, but most carry healthy fats, plant protein, and micronutrients that benefit your heart. Grab a handful of raw mixed nuts as a daily snack. Add chopped walnuts to your morning oatmeal or Greek yogurt. Toss sliced almonds into a salad for crunch without croutons. Remember to keep portions moderate, however. They're calorie-dense. Not every food fits neatly into the good or bad box, but some are best kept on a short leash. Processed red meat, like sausages, bacon, and deli slices, is a red flag. Why? Because it often contains a cocktail of saturated fats, preservatives, and compounds like nitrites that are linked to inflammation, cancer risk, and cardiovascular damage. It's not just about fat, it's about what's done to the meat. Cream and butter. These dairy fats are saturated and can push your LDL cholesterol higher. While fat isn't evil, the kind and quantity do matter. Use these more as accents, not foundations. Think, a drizzle, not a dollop. Surprisingly, cheese may not be as big a villain as once feared. While it contains saturated fat, it also has calcium, protein, and certain fermented properties that may offset some risks. Still, watch the portion size and be wary of American cheese. The golden rule is to use animal-based fats sparingly. Let plants lead the plate, and think of these as occasional sidekicks, not main characters. Carbs are not your enemy, but the wrong kind definitely sabotage your health. Let's break it down. Whole, intact grains, like steel-cut oats, quinoa, and dark rye, still have their natural structure. That means they take longer to digest, release sugar more slowly, and keep your insulin levels stable. This helps prevent insulin resistance, a major risk factor for heart disease and type 2 diabetes. Once grains are ground, pulverized, or puffed, even if they say whole wheat, they behave more like sugar in your body. Quick spikes, quick crashes. Over time, this metabolic roller coaster leads to fat buildup in the liver, blood vessel damage, and higher diabetes risk. High fiber, no added sugar cereals? Great choice. But most commercial, whole wheat cereals are full of added sugars and lack fiber. Don't be fooled by the label. Consider looking for the following when having carbs: at least 4 to 5 grams of fiber per serving. 0 or minimal added sugar. Words like intact grains, steel cut, or whole kernel. Fiber is your friend. The more fiber a carb has, the slower it digests, and the better it is for your heart. If there's a public enemy number one in the world of diet and heart disease, it's added sugars, especially fructose and sucrose. These sugars sneak into everything, from cereals and sauces to so-called healthy protein bars, and wreak havoc by spiking blood sugar, increasing fat production in your liver, and fueling inflammation. Over time, this leads to insulin resistance, abnormal cholesterol levels, and a higher risk of heart disease. And it's not just the sugar alone. These processed foods usually come bundled with refined carbs and low-quality fats, creating a perfect storm for poor health. Here's how you can spot and stop them. Read the label. Ingredients ending in O's, glucose, fructose, dextrose, means added sugar. Stick with naturally sweet foods like fruit and limit anything that comes in a crinkly plastic wrapper. The bottom line? Keep it whole. Keep it real. You don't need to memorize biochemistry to eat well. Just remember, whole, intact, and plant-based is best for your heart. The more a food is processed, the more likely it is to cause harm over time. Fats and carbs are not the enemy. Their ultra-processed versions are. If you build most of your meals around nuts, seeds, whole grains, legumes, and vegetables, you'll naturally avoid the worst and welcome the best. There's no one-size-fits-all diet, but this approach is flexible. If you're vegan or vegetarian, you're already leaning into the plant-based focus. Just be mindful of highly processed meat alternatives. If you eat animal products, you don't have to give them up entirely. Just limit processed meats and prioritize plant-forward meals. Use fiber and whole food content as your guide. More fiber generally means better heart health potential. To make these changes stick, add a salad with nuts to lunch or dinner for heart-healthy crunch. Use cheese as a flavor enhancer rather than a main ingredient. Build meals around whole grains and legumes, not processed white rice or pasta. And remember, read labels. If sugar is one of the first 3 ingredients, or if fiber is low, put it back. If you're ready to simplify your eating habits and boost your heart health without falling for fads, start by building meals around whole, plant-based foods. Drop a comment below. What's one food swap you're going to make this week? If you found this video helpful, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a health breakdown that actually makes sense. Until next time, stay strong, stay healthy, and stay smart.